The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is my favorite game. Whether it be through the N64 original or the 3DS remake, it's always been one of the games I always pick up and play. But as of recent, there's been a newer trend that has caught my eye through certain streamers like ZFG and Linkus7, that being Majora's Mask Randomizer, aka MMR. MMR changes many aspects of the game to your choosing through its customizable menu, such as if you want to have just major items randomized or if you want to have everything randomized. This includes things such as the invisible rupees in Termina Field, the shootable walls around Clock Town, or the playable song walls throughout Termina. But most importantly is all sources can be changed to your liking if you want to make the game decently normal to extremely difficult with its randomization to the point where your save might not even be possible to beat. For the seed I played during my playthrough, I used the standard rule set for 1.16.11 beta, which means that certain items such as Epona's Song and New Wave Bossa Nova will always be in their original source location. Alongside that, there are certain custom rule sets, such as having the Fierce Deity mask anywhere in Termina instead of just in boss fights. Even if this is the normal rule set, it is very much recommended to at least try and play with full randomization, or your own custom rule set to where it seems valid. But even so with that, let's get into the first day of Majora's Mask Randomizer. Now pause. This is where I made a very grave mistake for the first day of Rando, funnily enough, just within the first minute. Usually Cafe has the Keaton mask on in vanilla, but as we can see it's become the Letter to Mama quest item. And while I was playing I registered it as just that one item, when in reality it was two items that are visible. But before that, let's talk about Parallel Uni... Wait, I'm in the wrong game. Either way, the other item is the Pendant, which has been randomized too. It has become one of our key items needed for progression in the run. But due to the item being clipped inside of Cafe's body, it was almost impossible to see, and this would come to bite me very soon. Exploring Clock Town in Rando can be a mixed bag. You will either find one of your key items for the run, or you will find nothing but junk. Many of the items are locked behind other key items, such as needing Goron Mask for the chess minigame, the bow for Octorok Archery, or Bomb Bag for doing Honey and Darling, or if you really have randomized your run, just having the Kokiri sword to be able to do the Swords Master test. But there is always a free check in the chest in East Clocktown. As well, later on you'll see the Banker and the rewards for having 200, 500, and 1,000 rupees can also be randomized. And now we enter into the chest minigame, which does not go very well for my first time in years doing it again. The worst part is that I've already practiced this game mode a few times in some practice runs. But if you don't want to suffer through the chess minigame every run, I would suggest learning how to cheat through it. There are many videos of speedrunners pulling off tricks from Majora's Mask, and some that I do use in this playthrough. While exploring Termina Field for key items, if you have not played Majora's Mask before, let me tell you about the story and how to complete the game. Majora's Mask is the sequel to Ocarina of Time, starting its development as Zelda Gaiden, semi-unrelated to Ura Zelda, which was for the 64DD. But for the failure of the disk drive add-on to the N64, the game was pushed to be released on the original N64 with the expansion pack. Majora's Mask is the story of Link's unintentional adventure through the land of Termina, a place of mourning people and the soon-to-be end of their world. It is up to us as Link to save the 4 lands outside of Clocktown and restore their guardian deity to stop the devious Skull Kid from bringing down the moon, which will destroy Termina and all around it. The 4 giants can be found throughout the 4 dungeons in Termina, and we must free them by defeating the boss inside of each dungeon. Once they're all free, you can call upon them with the Oath to Order to hold the moon from crashing into Termina on the final day, which will now lead you into the fight against Majora. Upon facing down Majora and beating her, you will win the game. But with the randomizer rule set, it's not going to be so simple anymore, given that all key items, for the most part, have been randomized for their location and source. Some of the items may be in treasure chests like you see out in Termina Field, such as a bottle, when there would really just be a red rupee inside of that chest. These randomized placements are what add a lot of the difficulty or a lot of the ease to your run, depending on how lucky you are. But even so, you still have to go through all 4 dungeons, beat all of them, and gain all 4 of the masked remains of the 4 bosses to even get to Majora. In all of MMR's many different ways of playing the game, there is a menu that will give you a lot more options to play with, that being the gimmicks menu. In the standard rule set that we use for MMR, you can find one such as Fierce Deity Anywhere, which is a very, very powerful item to have. Normally restricted to the Majora boss fight or other boss fights in the post game if you so choose, it allows you to have a size larger than even adult Link in Ocarina of Time. It has a few unintended side effects, such as getting you stuck when going through buildings or being able to climb up walls that are normally unable to be climbed. But it opens up the doors to a lot of creative ways to go around the rules of the randomizer, such as getting to places earlier than intended or without certain masks or key items, while others are more quality of life in their gimmicks, such as free Scarecrow's Song, which means that you can just press the Ocarina button and you will automatically spawn a Scarecrow, as long as a Scarecrow is intended for that location. The gimmicks are meant to be used for your own fun or to make even more clever ways to beat the randomizer. If one feels too strong, such as Fierce Deity Mask Anywhere, then I would say to switch it off or try something else. But do note that some of the gimmicks, such as Giant's Mask Anywhere, can be a bit more game-breaking, because it can be entered into logic, and it being in logic means that having the mask might be the only solution to progress in the game, and the mask being generally buggy even with the many fixes provided by MMR. But it does have many other qualities, such as having keg explosions on Sword Slash. Do with that what you will. But even so, with that, I would suggest tailoring it to your own playstyle or just using standard. These changes are one aspect of what makes randomizers so fun and so refreshing for a game like Majora's Mask. Before I ran all this, I did a test run, and I was not very good at the swordsman game. So it's very good I got it on first try this run. And let's hope you don't mind how the timer is completely off for like the entire run. It's going to stay that way, by the way. Should I explain why the timer is incorrect throughout every stream, not included in this highlight as well? No. This is a trick to bypass having to get the Bomber's Notebook code to enter into the sewer, so we can grab the chest inside of the sewer alongside getting to the Moon's Tier in the Astral Observatory. Simply face in this direction and then backflip, and you should be able to get right over them. A similar trick can be done with Deku Link to exit out of Clock Town early before the end of the first cycle. This is where I found out the first big hint of the run. Even though said secret was very noticeable if I was more observant, the Gossip Stone lists that the laundry pool is the way of the hero. A way of the hero hint means that a required item or other check is located in this location or from an NPC there. But I really should have known this from the beginning, like I said. This is why you should check every Gossip Stone you can find in the game at the current point, so you can have access to clues like this or to avoid certain checks. Now, upon having the way of the hero hint to go to the laundry pool, I of course don't go there. Instead, for reasons that escape me, I decide to wander around Clock Town and surrounding areas, making little to no progress whatsoever. This would continue on for the rest of the stream. So, for your viewing pleasure, I have been able to speed up and cut down the footage to at least show you what actually did happen. At the end of this, I will highlight some of the things that were found that are significant for the playthrough. But to be specific, the only thing we're having to look for at the moment is the letter to Cafe. Having already checked with the man who gives you the Brahmin mask, it means that Cafe is the only way to get this check. If you want to skip forward to the more interesting part, then skip to the time code seen on screen. I would suggest it because there's not a lot happening here except for me being lost. And now for some of the more important items, such as the Moons tier, which does allow us to get one more additional check for the seed. The item in trade for the Moons tier is not the deed, but instead magic. Finding magic so early within the randomizer is a great thing to have due to it often being found further and further into the seed. Sadly, the luck does stop whenever we get the final reward from the banker, and it's just a red rupee. And with that concludes the end of stream 1. I continued streaming Majora's Mask Randomizer for a few more days after this, eventually beating the game. Those streams will be eventually edited down into this sort of format and uploaded to the channel. I promise that they'll be a lot more interesting than this one, because day 1 and its stream was a very boring and experimental stream, though it's only due to the run being very limited due to me not trusting in the hint and doing the first little bit of the Anju and Cafe quests. As an aside, this does conclude my first edited video that isn't just some random thing I did together. This was a big project because I genuinely enjoyed the run for Randomizer, and I really hope it came out decently well. I do hope to improve in the future for the rest of the highlights of the stream. But until I make them, that is all for now, and I hope to see you next time.